Mike's Daily Podcast.
It is so tough when you have to get up so early and you got a girlfriend who goes to bed at midnight and a dog that
Mike's Daily Podcast
wakes you up at 2:30. Yeah, that's not going to last very long. But I'm filling in for a guy who's been going to places on his vacation, so I gotta stick around and be the guy that gets in no sleep and is in a state of exhalation.
Mike's Daily Podcast
of no sleepation.
Mike's
That's all I gotta say to that.
Daily
You need your sleep,
Podcast.
especially when you do your podcast.
Yeah!
But no, Mike's going to be sleepless today. Sleepless in Podcastro Valley, Mont today, the last place on Earth. And it's episode 1,800 and a mighty 897. Wow. Another freaking hurricane is developing over the Bahamas. Is it Umberto? I think is what I heard it was going to be called. Yikes. Hey, it's Friday the 13th today. Maybe that's particularly why I'm particularly tired. Friday the 1-3. But here's what I learned about Friday the 13th is that it was started way back when. It has a very religious significance to it. Has to do with Good Friday and the Last Supper. The Last Supper, according to the theory, is that Jerry Brown added an event that I might be interested in. And when have I been getting these on Facebook? I do not care about that. What the heck is Jerry Brown doing? I guess I am kind of interested. What's he doing now that he's not governor?
And here's today's podcast picture.
I was interested in it for about a second. Yes, the podcast picture is not of Jerry Brown. Yes, there is a thing called, what is it called? Dias de los Muertos Barbie. Because things painted with the Dias de los Muertos. That would be the day before Dia de los Muertos. And they do a fantastic Dias de Muertos show, festival. Basil has not been to it, but he has been to the town of Niles. And Niles has this festival every year right around the actual day, Dias de los Muertos. And Basil's been there. And Basil was hot yesterday. That's the other thing. It was so hot. Why? Why is it so hot? Have we gotten enough of Mike complaining about stuff for today's podcast? I think so. At any rate, we are superstitious. And we seem to worry about things that we probably shouldn't give a hoot about. But you know what? That's what we do. And we've attributed the Last Supper, which had 13 apostles there, or 13 people altogether, with the 12 apostles and Jesus. And then the next day was Good Friday. And because Jesus was crucified on Good Friday, that's not a good day. So therefore, it is called unlucky Friday the 13th. And you shouldn't do anything. Oh, the Mid-Autumn Festival is happening in Shenzhen, China. And suddenly, at the moment anyway, the whole trade war thing has calmed down quite a bit. That's fun. But I'm not superstitious. Oh, yes, I am. Oh, well, I am wearing a green shirt today. Does that say anything? It happens that when I was a kid, I was very superstitious. All kinds of anything that went bad, I would re-engineer it. I would take it apart and go, what caused it? What caused the bad thing to happen? I'd retrace my steps and try and find what it was. And I would always attribute it to something superstitious, something that I didn't do. Oh, you or that I did. You walked under a ladder. You opened up an umbrella in the house. But basically, all those crazy big superstitious things do have a very interesting practical beginning, or somewhat. We can understand that, for example, the umbrella opening up inside the house, that is an allusion to, if you open up a umbrellas are usually used to keep Rihanna dancing. And apparently Seth Meyers has a big thing for Rihanna. That's what I heard yesterday from my lovely lady friend. But yes, it invokes the violence of bad weather and rain, and you don't want rain in your life or in your house. And that's where that comes from. So we just have to be aware of the little stupid things we do in life that are unnecessary. Oh, but Mike, it's so cute when before you leave, you touch both door jambs and you spin around and you clap twice. And then you whisper some of the lyrics to Whitney Houston's I Want to Know. That's fantastic that you do that. It's not wacky in any way. But that is what we have. We have superstition. And we're all, I think as human beings, it's built into our DNA. Even the most rational people they can't fight it. It happens to them. They want to be superstitious. As ridiculous as that is. I would love to share with you a podcast picture that my lovely lady friend took yesterday as she was walking past Oakland, Lake Merritt. It was a very hot day. And I've actually posted a picture similar to this before. It's these birds that like to hang out on this little, it's kind of like a little tidewater or a tide breaker type thing. Because Lake Merritt is not a lake, it's a tide pool. It's actually seawater coming into there. But there's these birds hanging out, and it was a beautiful hot day, slightly cooler around Lake Merritt. As we go outside a cafe anyway, we're bringing you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcaster Valley, Mont today. I hope it cools down a little bit. Hey, some tips for cooling down. Here's one. Did I tell this one already? You take a spray bottle, put water in it, and stick it in your fridge. And then spritz yourself from time to time. That cools you off. Somebody told me you take ice, put it in a bucket, and then put a fan over the bucket and blow it towards you. That's supposed to cool you down. I tried that. It's not so helpful. But if you have a tip, you can call me 336MM Daily. That's 3 + 3 = 6. MM as in Mike Matthews, Daily as in what this podcast has been for all of 2 days now. And maybe we'll go further. We'll go on to even more. And maybe the next show I'll have actually written down some things, because let me explain to you what happens at 5:51 in the morning when you've had no sleep. There's this thing in your brain that can usually reach out and grab all this fantastic information that you have up in there. But at 5:51 in the morning, when you've had no sleep, and you have a million tasks ahead of you for the rest of the day, and all of that pressure is building on you, you can't access any of that information. All these interesting little tidbits. Oh, I wanted to talk about that. Oh, I wanted to talk about that on my podcast that I do. MikesDailyPodcast.com. Every day, just about, hopefully. But you can't access any of it because there is this big thing. It's like a sludge that's over your head, in your brain cells, and all the little brain crinkles. And you can't, nothing. It's all just trap. It's void. It's goo. By the way, I'm so depressed. Oh, I can access depression. That's good. Carlos B. Park, which is in Podcaster Valley. It's scary. It's not a good park to go to. They should probably just shut it down, because right now, and I talked to someone the other day saying, don't call them homeless, but to call them street people is what she said. But actually, I see more homeless people not on the street. They're like living in parks. They're not on a street living. They're out in Carlos B. Park, for example. The parking lot is very tiny, and it is full of cars of people that are living in their cars. And they are homeless. They are not carless, obviously, but they are homeless, and they're taking up this what used to be a nice park. And on a hot day, Carlos B. Park is really cool because it faces, it's got a bunch of trees, and it faces away from the sun so you can cool down. Well, the homeless, not carless people have found it, and they're not going to leave anytime soon. So I don't think I'm going to go back anytime soon. That's how I feel about that. All right. So what do you think, though? 3, 6 mm daily. 3 plus 3 equals 6 mm daily. Are you into the whole Mike Matthews mm and then the podcast is daily? That the baseball season is wrapping up, I guess. We're in the thick of it. And what do you think about all these things happening, like the Democratic, what was it called? The thing with Elizabeth Warren?
America elected Donald Trump. And yeah, the Russians helped.
The debates. And Bernie with his crazy hair. I saw her. I do not understand. It's some kind of an East Coast thing, I think, where you throw an R at the end of a word that should just end with an A. This lady, okay, so there's this guy, his last name is Broccoli. If you ever go, I'm chopping broccoli. Dana Carvey sang a song, Chopping Broccoli. I forget where that was from. But so there was a guy named Broccoli. What's his first name? They called him Cubby Broccoli. He was the guy who created a lot of the James Bond movies. He co-produced a lot of them, and then in the 80s, 70s, and 80s, he made a lot. The first one he did was The Spy Who Loved Me. So I was watching the behind the scenes of The Spy Who Loved Me movie, which, by the way, Barbara Bach was in that. And she later married, a couple years later, she was in a movie called Caveman, which my mom and her boyfriend, who ended up being her second husband, dragged me to see. And I thought it was hilarious. It's a comedy set in caveman times. Didn't Jack Black do the same? He did the same thing. Year One, I think, was the name of that one. But Caveman had Barbara Bach and Ringo Starr in it, and that's how the two of them met. And they've been married ever since. They got married right after the movie came out, I think in the early 80s. They're still married. Barbara Bach was The Spy Who Loved Me, and that James Bond movie ended up being one of the biggest grossing James Bond movies of all time. Made Roger Moore definitely a James Bond that people remembered. To me, he's James Bond. I don't know how freaking old you are, but Sean Connery, that was way before my time. Sean Connery as James Bond. But no, to me, not so much. It's Roger Moore. Hello, I'm Roger Moore. He had the awesomest voice. It's just so cool. And you know what? All these documentaries I've been watching about the making of James Bond, Roger Moore is always there. He'll always talk about it. Sean Connery, well, Roger Moore's gone now, unfortunately. No longer with us. But Sean Connery would never say a dang thing. He's still with us as of this recording. He'd never, I don't want to talk about James Bond. Dude, that freaking movie made your career, made your life. I hate people that they don't, like, at least William Shatner finally acknowledged. For years he turned away from it. But in the end, he acknowledged he's Captain Kirk, and he's got to deal with that fact. He made a whole cool documentary where he talked to all the captains from all the different Star Trek shows, including Chris Pine. Oh, where did I go with this? Oh, yeah, so the wife of Broccoli, the guy whose name is Albert Broccoli, I forget. He once made a bunch of pasta for the cast that was working on The Spy Who Loved Me in Egypt somewhere, and they had no food to eat, so he got a bunch of spaghetti and made spaghetti and meatballs for everybody. But the way she said, she goes, she's talking about her husband, her late husband. Oh, and he would get a bunch of pasta the R at the end of it is fascinating to me. All right, that's the end of the show. Hey, wait, there's a couple people here we wanted to say hi out to right now. Hi, Matt. It's Benita the Rodeo Queen. How y'all doing?
That's a Disgruntled Fiddle Player telling you what.
What?
Doesn't, you sometimes throw an R at the end of your words.
No, I don't.
Yeah. You call Benita Benitar.
Well, because I thought that was a better name than Benita. Because it kind of sounds like guitar. Benitar. I like it. All right, that was Benitar. Just said that. Look who else is here.
Oh, Mike, I make the delicious root beer. Have some right now. I'll cut you. I love root beer. Root beer has an R at the end of it. Oh, boy.
Thank you for pointing that out. Delicious. What is this that drink that all the millennials are drinking now? What's it called? The stuff. Canasta? Shasta? It's some drink. It's a seltzer water that millennials are drinking. Anyway, that's what that was. Not. It was root beer.
Right? God.
But the next show, maybe we'll have that drink. Or we'll have more root beer. Or we will have Madame Rootabega, Valentino, Bison Bentley. Thanks for listening.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MikesDailyPodcast.com.
Email Mike now at MikesDailyPodcast@gmail.com.
See you tomorrow. Bye!